Well, welcome back to the kitchen, and here's something you don't often see nowadays, a music centre that looks in nice-ish condition, well, very nice condition actually. This belongs to Vintage Sounds 1992. It's an ITT from round about the late 70s. On the back of the motor, I think it said 1979. So it was made when people still gave a bit of a hoot about how these things were put together. And it may have been made just up the road from me, actually, because we had an ITT factory near where I lived down here in Hastings. And it's a funny thing, a small world, because I went into Asda yesterday, and the lady in there I know, said, "Oh, what you been up to today?" And I said I'd been fixing this ITT music centre, or made a start on it. And she said, "Oh, my mum used to work there, just round the corner in the factory." Yeah, small world. Oh dear. Well, this thing, nothing really badly wrong with it, apart from just, well, what you'd expect, age and wear, really. Got a very nice spring-loaded lid, rather than just slotting in the back in a sort of slot like a lot of the cheapo ones did. So there's not so much chance of it getting broken, and it's still, well, apart from the odd little tiny scratch, it's more or less pristine. The lid was made in Malta. I'm not sure about the rest of the set, as I say, it could have been made just up the road. The turntable is a BSR, as you can see. It's actually badged as an ITT, and it had a rather nice cartridge on there, which I've got to find another stylus for. I'm not sure about this one. It's called a P182, automatic player P182. It's clearly a BSR design. But given the quality of the rest of this, I have a feeling that perhaps they used a magnetic cartridge in there. So Adam's idea about putting a BSR cartridge in it, like an SC12M or a 12H, wouldn't do, because the output would be far too high. It's a ceramic pickup, those are, and it just wouldn't do. The tape deck had a few problems, most notably the pause button. Part of the linkage underneath had broken off, because it's plastic underneath here. But I've managed to frig something in my usual slightly high-class redneck way. But you've got quite a nice selection of features here. Nice looking big old VU meters there. You've got the choice of having either recording level setting here, manually, or you can put it onto automatic. And there's a 5-pin DIN there that does the microphone. It's also fitted with Dolby, this, and an oscillator switch like a beat cut on a boombox. So if you're recording an AM station and it starts to upset because of the frequency generated by the AC biased recording system of the tape deck, you can press that and it should get rid of it. And then next to it, fade here is a rather ingenious arrangement. If you're getting near to the end of a cassette tape, and you can see the cassette beautifully here because of this big window, nice and clear, you can press and hold it in, and it will fade whatever you're recording out. Oh, very nice too, good heavens. So I would imagine that this probably cost a small fortune when it was new. The radio receives FM, long wave and medium wave. It's got an FM stereo lamp. I have a feeling this is just a tiny bit too early to have an LED there, but it's about the same size as a 3-meter LED. Another nice feature about this is you notice that there's no dust behind this dial here. Well, you can actually remove it. Just undo these with the Allen keys here on the ends and it comes off, so you can clean it and keep it looking nice. Well, the cassette deck, of course, did have a few problems. I was terribly afraid at first that the main bearings on the capstan were faulty, but it proved to be that the whole bearing assembly was loose on the actual motor plate. So of course I was able to retighten that and put a little bit of super glue around it, a little dab there, like you do when you do a new playhead, you know, just to keep the alignment right. So that won't be going anywhere. I've put in new belts and then sprayed the various pots and switches with Servicol because they were terribly temperamental. The volume control in particular was terribly temperamental, and whatever you did, you couldn't get it to settle at first. Another curious thing they did on this one, it had a sort of ratchet in the back, rather like the Amstrad tower system I've got does, and when you opened it up you could hear tick 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 tick. Now Adam asked me to disable that, and I can't say I blame him because it was too notchy. Sometimes you'd find that it was a bit too loud on one setting and then the one below was a bit too quiet. So we've disabled that. It was ever so easy to do, just a matter of carefully bending a spring so that the thing doesn't make contact inside anymore. The bass and treble controls here had the same thing, so that's been done away with, but oddly the balance doesn't, although it does have a rather helpful central click stop, so you know when you're quite balanced. There of course is your band selector, function selector above. There's a headphone socket down there for full size headphones. Yeah, Music Center MC10. Susanna tells me that these were made in America, and of course you see the Music Center, it's spelt the way they do in America. The off-on switch is there and switches on the mains power rather than the secondary side of the transformer. And on the back of it you've got the 2-pin DIN plugs and an aerial socket for the radio. I've got it rigged up to these ITT speakers, which are older, probably a good 10 years older if the truth was only known. But it does sound pretty good for what it is. As I say, I've got to get another stylus for this. It's on a very convenient slide-out cartridge carrier. And you can see, apart from this one, which is screwed on either side, rather like a better hi-fi deck might be, you can see there's a countersunk hole, so that you could indeed, if you wish to, for a different model, fit an SC12H or 12M or what have you. But apparently the cartridge works, so it seems a shame not to reuse it. It even plays 78, so presumably, because the stylus wasn't a flip-over type, you had to have a 78 stylus and an LP and single stylus. Anyway, we'll see what this old beast sounds like. It lights up very nicely. Oh, there we are, there's the radio going. I won't get much of a signal here, by the way. Oh, there's the FM stereo lamp. You probably can't see too clearly, but it does light up in a rather subtle and nice way. The tuning knob has a big flywheel behind it, like some, well, very expensive high-end ones. So this is almost a thing with pretensions to being a hi-fi. Although very bizarrely, as supplied, it only came with one-way speakers. Remember you may have seen the video I did a while ago about modifying some ITT speakers with black material fronts. Well, this is the set that those came with, and I've converted them to two-way now, so Adam can't wait to see what this thing sounds like, because my guess is it'll sound pretty good. I've also put a new playhead in here and cleaned everything out, as you do, so see what happens. Ah, there we go. Looks like we've got to change a bulb there. Not a trace of any crackling now. And of course there's the legendary Jimmy Shad. But yeah, it certainly seems to work very well. This belonged to Adam's parents, or well, it was his dad's to be precise. And he had it new, bought it from a shop now long closed in Ashford in Kent. I think it's now the Halifax Building Society or something, or bank, or whatever they call themselves these days. Well, we know what we call bankers, don't we? And it doesn't start with a B, does it? Yeah, yeah, but I digress. But yeah, very stylish piece of kit, very nicely made. Bloody heavy for what it is too, actually, as they go. And you don't see that many of these anymore. The pause control, that was a bit of a fiddle to resurrect, because there was a plastic rod that stuck down underneath the button and pressed onto a metal plunger to actually operate the pause mechanism. But the plastic rod had snapped. Whoever uses plastic against metal, so I managed to find enough left of where the plastic rod had been. There was quite a little deep hole. So using a piece of brass rod, carefully shaped to the right shape, and a cotton bud stem, all super glued into position, we now have a working pause control. Oh dear, yes. Rednecks of the world unite. Anyway, hope you like this unusual Survivor. It sounds good through my revamped ITT two-way speakers, so it should sound very good indeed through his. See you soon.